I'm Angela Stolzenberg. I am the director of the Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital Community Health Collaborative. And we were really excited last spring to get in contact with Beyond Green after a really long process of working with getting some school buy-in to why we wanted to improve school lunches. So if I take you back to the beginning, we do a community health needs assessment every 3 years at Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and we found that we were one of the most obese counties in the state of Illinois. So out of 102 counties, depending on which data set you look at, we were either the second or the 13th most obese county in the state of Illinois. So we knew that we needed to address that. And one of the things we've been doing with the schools is the CATCH program, which is called Coordinated Approach to Child Health. And the CATCH program is really about creating a healthy school environment. And one thing we knew was missing was a healthy lunch. While the schools were providing lunches that met all of the requirements from the USDA, what we knew is that a lot of it was, most of it was frozen, it was processed, they weren't getting access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and that was really setting them up for a lifetime of not craving the nutrient-dense foods that we know that they need to be eating in order to be healthy. So we got in contact with Beyond Green and talked to them about what it would look like to go into the schools and really change the way their cafeterias work.
She asked us at Beyond Green, can you guys help change our school food in our town? And I said, yeah, probably, but I'd like to meet the head of the school cafeterias, Connie Crowley, and the superintendent, Kent Froby, just to make sure they were on board. So we had the meeting.
You know, it started with three real concerns when I was approached about going to scratch cooking. And the first concern was, would the kids like the food? You know, would it be something that the kids would want to eat? Because that's really important in our community to make sure that the kids get a couple hot meals each day. That's vital. And so that was a concern. Secondly, a big concern was budget. And so would we be able to do this within budget? And that was a concern, and it was a deal breaker. If we weren't able to do this and we were having to hire more staff, more cooks, then we just wouldn't be able to do this. Lastly was the sustainability. You know, would this be able to continue on once Chef Greg and the Beyond Green team left Lincoln? And you know, that's kind of, it's a credit to Connie and the cooks.
I was adamant that our participation could not decrease because that's how we get paid for our lunch program. So when they first came in, I was very strict about how they were going to have to make sure that they could do this with the number of people that we still had employed.
The most important thing is making being on the same level, not asking my staff to do anything I wouldn't do. So making sure that they know I'm with them and we're all about teamwork. And it doesn't matter which school you're at, we're all District 27, so it's all really about teamwork. So that was my first goal, is to make sure that they knew I had their back.
So once we knew that we had buy-in from the school, the superintendent, the food service director, then it was a matter of making sure that we were able to support it financially through the ALMH Foundation. And the foundation, after they saw what would go into it, all the training, was very excited to make that investment. This was going to impact over 360,000 meals every single school year. Over 3,000 children in a variety of, elementary school and junior high. So the impact was just an incredible opportunity and an incredible potential. So once we had the green light from the superintendent and the food service director, and we knew we had funding provided by the ALMH Foundation, the next step was starting the training. So Beyond Green came in with their team, and they did a great job really explaining not just how to cook foods from scratch, but also the why behind it and getting them on board with the concept of why this is the right thing to do for the kids and get them excited about providing really high quality foods that they could be proud of to serve the kids.
And their biggest concern was, how fast are you gonna go? And I let them decide. I said, you guys can pick how fast we can go. We can go 0 to 60 fast, like a Tesla, or we can just take our time over the course of a year. And they said, we want you to take your time so we don't ruffle people's feathers, because right now we don't cook at all. I said, great, let's start. I said, well, the first thing we're gonna do is go on a farm tour. And we're gonna take, it happened to be 5 schools, 15 women, it was all women that worked in these cafeterias, and Connie. And we went to visit some farms, local farms in central Illinois. And we went to a dairy farm, and a beef farm, and an organic vegetable farm. And some of the comments were just amazing. When we go to the organic vegetable farm, 300 acres, beautiful, super hot. It's like a June or July, early afternoon. It's 95 degrees. I could not get those ladies to come off the farm. And they're standing in the sun with a million questions. And then the farmer was so happy that they came and was probably gonna start selling us food. He gifted us a bunch of vegetables. The next step we did was kitchen training. And we did a 2-week training where we cooked every day. And I bought a bunch of knives. I bought big knives, French knives, and small paring knives. And we started cooking. And everybody went for the paring knives because they never used a knife in school, almost never. And they didn't know how to use a French knife like most cooks.
A lot of my staff needed just the cutting skills. So I think that was huge for training. That's something that, that's much greatly improved. Then just a lot of them did not cook at home is what they said. So going back to scratch was a challenge, but they've came up and done great with that challenge and met that challenge greatly. So
what started to happen, the amazing thing that started to happen in this 2-week training was teamwork started to happen. All processed food kitchens, you don't really need teamwork because it's pretty simple. And it was wild to watch this teamwork come together. In the training, it started, and they tasted it in the training, but then when we started real food for 1,000 lunches, it was unbelievable. And you can't teach that. So really what they realized is that we were changing culture, kitchen culture. Kitchen culture isn't the easiest thing to change, and you can't really talk a lot about it. You just kind of have to do it. And the culture being processed, frozen, reheated food, lots of time on our hands, gossip breaks, to we have to think ahead. We have to plan ahead for days. We have to work together. The bickering stopped, the thinking ahead started, and we ended up getting to, by February, they were planning a week ahead, every half hour, what they were going to be doing in these kitchens. The fresh food started pouring in. And really, one of the beautiful things is that almost all of the food was their idea or the kids' idea. We went to the kids. Angela Stolzenberg and her partner Angela went into the classrooms with my Josephine and Dej and talked to the kids.
The students had opportunities to vote on different foods. What do they like? What don't they like? We came in supporting the whole time as the hospital. We were in the cafeterias, talking to the kids, taking their votes, seeing what they liked. And that was really important to me because prior to this project, one of the things that I will always remember is being in the cafeteria before Lincoln 27 and Beyond happened, and talking to the kids about being active and making sure they eat their go foods. And one of the kids saying to me, as he's sitting there with his frozen cooked chicken nuggets, you say that you want us to eat go foods, why are you serving us this? So to be able to be in the cafeteria on the other side of that, when they were like, maybe you need a little bit more paprika, you know? I mean, some of them really had already some palates where they could actually identify spices or seasonings that they thought it needed more of, or maybe you should cook that a little bit longer, or you cook this a little too much. I like it when my green beans are a little crunchier. It was great that they were really involved and engaged in the process, and they felt like they had some say and control, and people valued their opinions about the food they were eating. And they really enjoyed that. It was fun to be there and watch them vote and listen to them talk about that.
So before we got there, often the ladies stayed in the kitchen, and I kept bringing them out to the dining room. Now, you just worked really hard on the homemade pancakes. Why don't you go find out if it worked or not? You just worked really hard on buying 2 Hill beef and going from already cooked frozen burgers with 13 ingredients in them from the moon to 2 Hill beef 20 miles away, and you had to hand patty 1,000 hamburgers. That's a lot of work. So why don't you go out in the cafeteria and ask the kids how it was? You know, be vulnerable, listen, don't be defensive.
It's worth it. I mean, you know, I think that's, you know, a lot of my staff, you know, they are here because they love the kids. And so they do a great job. And, you know, when they hear the kids, or sometimes the kids will call the cooks out into the cafeteria and just scream, "Thank you!" And that makes them feel good. And so it's good to hear. It's good to hear that, you know, not everything's a hit, and I'm not going to please all 1,100 students. But for the most part, they really are grateful, and they are excited about what's going on.
One of the things that is so incredible is that this whole process started, if you think about it, in May, June. No, it was probably June that we were having a training. School starts in mid-August. By the time February rolled around, we were already at 30% of the foods being purchased locally. That was from 0%. The school district had never purchased anything locally in the past. So we were already at 30% of the food, which means 30% of that school food budget being spent locally, which is super exciting. 70% of the menu had gone from being 0% scratched cooking to 70%, maybe a little over 70% scratch cooking on that menu. And you know, you couldn't really walk around town without somebody mentioning how excited they were that District 27 was doing this great program and the foods from scratch. And I've heard so many great things from the kids. And it was also really neat that once we went through the process of acquiring those local farmers to provide the foods, that part of it was a bid process that asked them to be part of the program, come into the school and talk to the kids. And we did. We had farmers locally come in and explain what the different cuts of meat on a cow, or what it's like to run a farm, and what agricultural careers are available to the kids. So that was I was in a junior high classroom when that's exactly what was happening. The farmers were talking to the kids about, you could do this someday. These are agricultural careers that are 10 minutes away from the school you're sitting in. And the beef that you're eating is coming from 10 minutes away from the school that you're sitting in. And that was really exciting. And a lot of those kids, you know, we're a rural county, absolutely. But if you live in the city of Lincoln, it doesn't mean you've ever been on a farm. You don't know how that works. And so to watch their eyes kind of, whoa, I didn't know what that was like, and I didn't know that you do that. And to have the farmer explain how the process is and the humane things that they do to produce that meat that we all eat. It was really a great thing to see the kids doing. And then to go to the cafeteria once again and have that farmer sitting right next to those kids having lunch, eating the beef that came from their farm that they had just talked about and learned about. And other projects that were happening in the classroom. We had junior high kids also put together commercials for different produce. So they're talking about important foods that are going to provide them nutrients and keep them healthy, and hopefully for a lifetime of healthy habits. And they're learning about it because they're promoting it.
As we move forward, I think we just continue to build upon what we've started. And so we continue to try to reach out to local farmers and see if there's others that want to get involved with providing good meals and fresh food for our students. We continue to have other districts approach us, and I know we just started serving lunches out at Zion School, and I know that there's been some other K-8 districts that have approached us about maybe taking over their meal program. So I think it's also just helping Chef Greg and Beyond Green get the word out, not only across Logan County, but across the state, that that providing these meals, this is something that really can be a lifelong change for many students if we teach them how to, you know, what foods to eat properly and to kind of change their palates, so to speak.
I know lots of people say, oh, what's that place doing in Lincoln that's scratch cooking? And I want them to, you know, when they hear Lincoln District 27 or Lincoln 27 and beyond, that they know it is doable. It's possible. There are, you know, of course, challenges, but with anything there's challenges. So, you know, we're taking care of their minds in the classroom. We're going to take care of their body and their health in the kitchen. Without question, you know, as I reflect back on those 3 concerns, all of them were met without any problems, and I just couldn't be prouder of our staff. You know, from the custodial staff to the teachers, and then obviously the cooks and Connie. Just amazing, and it's an initiative that District 27 definitely is proud of.
What I can say is now that it's off the ground and we have cooks in the kitchen and a food service director who knows how to do a from scratch program, is that it works, it's successful. They can keep going now, and they will keep going, and they'll keep providing from scratch foods. They'll keep purchasing their foods locally, and we have a happy community who appreciates that. Happy families that are thankful to the school for the extra effort they know they're putting in to make that happen. And a really satisfied ALMH Foundation board, because what they had asked for, what they had hoped for with this project has come true.